Hi again, I'm Chris Colley, and thanks for joining me on my multiple myeloma journey. Today is October 9, 2024. The last time you saw me was July 5th, 2024. It's been a while. The last time you saw me, it was treatment day 47 and chemotherapy day 36. Today is treatment day 143 and chemotherapy day 132. I'm going to start you out with good news. As of September 19, 2024, I am officially in remission from multiple myeloma kidney. Dr. Egid said my treatment should keep up with the disease for 17 months. I have no idea what happens from here, but as far as I'm concerned, Yahweh beat the disease on the first try no matter when it comes back. It is an incurable disease, so that means that one day it will. I have no idea when that day will be. The bad news is I am still on dialysis, and I still don't see an end in sight, and I'm not going to have another measurement that will help me give any idea of when I'm going to get off dialysis until at least next week. It's disappointing, to say the least. But I've been told by everyone to remain optimistic that my kidney function will return. Dr. Egid said there's nothing keeping my kidneys from waking up unless the damage was too severe at the very beginning from my AKI. The doctors in the hospital all at the time thought it was reversible, and my main doctor thought that I wouldn't need dialysis. So who knows what's going to happen, but I'm going to remain optimistic that my kidney function will return. I am still peeing, and that is the number one key to retaining kidney function. It has been a rough time since the last time I saw you. Side effects from this treatment are rough. The treatment obviously did its job, but it is also doing a number on my body. And one of the biggest numbers it's doing on me right now is weight. You may or may not have noticed, but since the last time I saw you, I have lost about 20 pounds. I'll get into what is causing that as I describe my treatment in another video. But for now, this video is about health updates. You may remember that the subject of my last video was related to my dialysis catheter coming out. I had to go to the emergency room for that, and I was waiting when I recorded my video that day to find out if I could get a procedure to get the catheter replaced so that I could get into dialysis on Saturday. That Friday, the procedure did not happen because they couldn't get me on the schedule at a reasonable hour because I had treatment that day. That led me to have to go there first thing in the morning on Saturday, July 6, 2024. I had no idea what to expect because my catheter was completely out. But I went to the kidney surgical specialist, which is also called the Vascular Access Center, to find out what was going to happen. Of course, there were issues with my insurance trying to get it figured out, but it did. And I went back and I met a nurse named Danelle. And I also met a guy named Michael, a guy named Mike, and a doctor named Dr. Ribeiro. Dr. Ribeiro explained the procedure to me and thought that he would be able to put the new catheter inside the same hole the original catheter was in. After probably 30 minutes of pre-op, I was taken back to the operating room. And it took about 20 minutes or so to prepare for that. Got a big old tent over my face, which I made the joke of, I'm going camping. And then when they were ready, Dr. Ribeiro came in. He gave me one shot of lidocaine in my chest near where the catheter went in. Lidocaine always hurts, just so you know. It is a worse stick than getting blood work by probably about 2 or 3 times. And it radiates a very intense sting for a few seconds. It is not unbearable, but if you ever wonder what lidocaine feels like, no matter where you get it, it is the same thing. That first boost in is going to cause you some pain. And it's not light pain, but it's not unbearable pain. But it is pain for a few seconds. A lot of people, when explaining medical procedures to you, say, oh, this might hurt. This kind of hurts. This hurts. But they don't explain the degree because they haven't been through it. Most people have not had lidocaine, but I've had lidocaine shot into me quite a few times, and the experience has been the same on most of them. I'll get into one at some point in this video. that I went through that was worse. But that was technique. That wasn't about the shot. And as I get into talking about various things over the next however many videos it's going to take, I'm going to talk a lot about pain. And I'm going to talk about doctor disposition, nurse disposition, when relaying the kind of pain that you may go through during a procedure. Because none of them have ever gone through these procedures, and they're just relating it as secondhand information. And something that I went through in September was like torture. And I'm just going to tell you in advance that if you ever have to have this done, to make sure that you ask to be sedated. No one should have to go through that procedure not sedated. It is too painful, and it creates too much of a wiring into your brain to forget it easily. But back to the procedure. So Dr. Ribeiro is a really good surgeon. He does the catheter very quickly. It was pain, but it wasn't a big deal. It's done that afternoon, right after the procedure. I go to dialysis. For 30 minutes, they try to get the catheter working. It does not work. And they say, bad news, you got to go back. Awesome. That is so awesome. Second procedure. So I go back, and I knew I wasn't going to be able to get the full treatment at that time because it was too late in the day of dialysis. But I was going to come back and get a partial treatment at least after the second surgery was done, provided everything went fine. So I go back. Everybody's obviously disappointed that it didn't work. Dr. Ribeiro comes up with a different idea that he thinks will be better for me. And he comes in after all the pre-op is done and everything. And I swear that procedure took less than 5 minutes. Lidocaine, barely hurt. He comes in, boop, 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 done. Have a good weekend, everybody. I go back to dialysis. It works perfectly until September 17th. During that dialysis, on September 17th, the Tuesday, the first hour, my alarm was going off like crazy. And about an hour in, my nurse Lil comes over and says, you got to go get your catheter exchanged. There's some sort of obstruction in it. This is probably about 6:30 or 7 a.m., and the Vascular Access Center doesn't open until 8 a.m. He was going to call them to see if he could get me an appointment. At this point, the last dialysis I'd had was Saturday, ended at around 9:20 a.m. It's Tuesday at about 7 a.m. I've had less than an hour of treatment. Mondays are always rough because of the extra day off from dialysis. And they were going to try to schedule me back in for the afternoon for Tuesday, provided I could get in for a procedure.